The most powerful man on earth died asking his friends one question. And the answer tells you everything about who he really was. August the 19th, 14 AD. The Roman Empire stretches from the sands of Egypt to the banks of the Rhine. From the Sahara to the Danube. Tens of millions of people, all under the authority of one man. That man is dying. In a small bed. In a small town. Far from Rome. His name is Augustus. Rome's first emperor. His wife Livia is by his side. His friends are gathered around him. And in his final moments, he turns to them and asks a question. Have I played the part well? Then, according to Suetonius, he quoted the final line of a Roman comedy. The words an actor delivers just before the curtain falls. Then applaud as I exit. And he was gone. His last words were a performance. Even at the very end, he was playing a role. That tells you something. We're going to find out what. The Golden Emperor was a lie. A perfectly constructed lie. And today, we take it apart. His father died when he was 4. His grandmother when he was 12. By 18, he had survived everything Rome could throw at him. Most people would have walked away. He didn't. He was born in 63 BC. His name was Gaius Octavius. His family was wealthy, but not noble. Not the kind of name that changes history. His father was a praetor, a senior magistrate. Governor of Macedonia. A respectable man, but not a Caesar. Then, when Octavius was 4 years old, his father died. His mother remarried quickly. The boy was sent to his grandmother Julia, sister of Julius Caesar, the most dangerous man in Rome. By 12, his grandmother was dead too. And here is the detail that matters: he delivered her funeral oration himself. In the Roman Forum. In front of thousands of people. 12 years old. Invoking the name of Caesar. In public. Every Roman in that crowd understood exactly what was being signaled. Julius Caesar noticed. He pulled the boy close. Military training. Campaign experience. Octavius rode in Caesar's own triumphal chariot through the streets of Rome. A public signal to the entire city. Caesar considered this teenager something close to a son. Then, in 44 BC, away on military training across the Adriatic, a message arrived. Julius Caesar had been stabbed 23 times at a Senate session in the theater of Pompeii. He bled out at the base of a statue of the man he had destroyed in civil war. His officers told Octavius to stay put. Wait. Assess the situation. He got on a boat and sailed straight for Rome. He had no army, no power, no protection. Just a dead man's name. And he was about to use it to take everything. He was 18 years old with no army and no title. So he paid a dead man's debt to an entire city, out of his own pocket. That is how you buy loyalty in Rome. What he found in Rome was chaos. Mark Antony, Caesar's most powerful general, had already moved to claim everything. He had the armies, the experience, the reputation, the seniority. What did this 18-year-old have? He had a name. Caesar's will was read publicly in the Forum. The crowd learned that Julius Caesar had posthumously adopted his great-nephew. That Octavius was now, legally, Gaius Julius Caesar. And that Caesar had promised 300 sestertii to every citizen of Rome. Antony laughed at him, publicly, called him a child playing with a dead man's legacy. Octavius said nothing. He went home, sold his property, borrowed money from every source he could find, and paid every citizen of Rome their 300 sestertii, Caesar's promise, out of his own pocket. Rome didn't forget it. Rome never forgets a man who pays what he owes. A year later, this 19-year-old with no official power would march his own private army on Rome. And the Senate would give him exactly what he demanded. Before he built the empire, he helped write a list that sent 300 senators to their deaths. He added his own guardian to it. The man who raised him. And ancient sources say he was the one who pushed hardest for no exceptions. At 19, Octavius marched on Rome with a private army he had built himself. He demanded the consulship, the highest office in the Republic. He got it. The youngest consul in Roman history. Then he sat down with two rivals, Antony and Lepidus, and divided the empire between them. 3 men. 1 empire. Split into thirds. Their first act together? The prescriptions. Public lists. Names declared enemies of the Roman state. Kill a man on the list, collect a reward. Shelter one, join the list. 300 senators. 2,000 equestrians, hunted through the streets of their own city. Cicero, the greatest orator in Rome's history, was on the list. Soldiers caught him as he fled. Cut off his head. Then his right hand. The hand that had written against them. And then, according to Cassius Dio, something happened that ancient sources describe in detail. Mark Antony's wife Fulvia took Cicero's severed head in her own hands. She pulled out his tongue and drove her hairpin through it. Again and again. A final answer to every speech he had ever given against her husband. His head and hand were displayed on the rostra, the same platform where he had once spoken. Now here is the part most history books leave out. Most people blame Antony for the prescriptions. Antony was cruel. Antony was reckless. But Suetonius recorded something specific about Octavius. He alone was most insistent that no one should be spared. He added his own guardian to the death list. The man who had raised him after his father died. That is the man history gave a golden name. So what did he do when there was no one left to stop him? In 27 BC, Augustus stood before the Senate and handed back his power. He declared the Republic restored. Said he was just a citizen. Every man in that room knew it was theater, and they played their part perfectly. Here is something you need to understand about Rome. Romans had hated kings since 509 BC. The word rex, king, was an insult. Julius Caesar had been killed, partly, for appearing to want it. Octavius had watched that happen. He had learned exactly what not to do. So in 27 BC, he performed a surrender. Handed everything back. Declared the Republic restored. Said he was just a citizen. The Senate, which he controlled completely, reacted exactly as planned. They gave him everything back, wrapped in Republican language. Armies, treasury, provinces, and a new name, Augustus, the revered one. He lived in a modest house, wore plain clothes, never called himself emperor, never called himself king. He didn't need to. Everyone already knew. And to be fair to him, because we try to be honest here, what followed was real. Roads. Aqueducts. 82 temples built or restored. Rome's first fire brigade. Rome's first police force. He found Rome built in brick. He left it in marble. That happened. That was him. The record is genuine. But so is this. He passed laws criminalizing adultery across Rome. Promoted himself and Livia as the model of Roman virtue. Faithful. Traditional. Incorruptible. Ancient sources, and we hold these carefully, say he seduced the wives of his own political allies. That Livia herself procured women for him. The man who made adultery a crime for all of Rome was one of Rome's most prolific adulterers. The Republic was theater. He was the only one not acting. But the hypocrisy wasn't even the darkest part. The darkest part was his daughter. He took her from her mother the day she was born. Controlled her for 40 years. Married her off 3 times. And when she finally lived life on her own terms, he called her a disease in his flesh. Julia was born in 39 BC. On the day of her birth, Augustus divorced her mother. She never knew her. From that first day, Augustus controlled everything. Her tutors. Her visitors, everyone personally vetted. Her friendships. Her reading. Her movements. She was not a daughter. She was a political instrument. At 14, given away. First husband, his nephew Marcellus. She had no say. Marcellus died 2 years later. Second husband, his general Agrippa. 25 years older than Julia. She had no say. 5 children. Then Agrippa died. Third husband, Tiberius, her own stepbrother. Forced to leave the wife he loved to marry a woman he resented. He hated the marriage. She hated it, everyone knew. Eventually Tiberius fled to the island of Rhodes just to escape it. He abandoned her completely. So Julia, brilliant, beloved, finally without a husband watching her every move, began to live. And for a while, by all ancient accounts, she was happy. In 2 BC, a report landed on Augustus's desk. Names. Companions. Details. He had her arrested immediately. Exiled to a remote island. No wine. No visitors. No freedom. A disease in my flesh. That is what Augustus called his own daughter. The one he took from her mother at birth. Controlled for 40 years. Married off 3 times. Who he never once asked what she wanted. He never saw her again. She died in 14 AD, the same year as her father. After Augustus died, Tiberius withheld her allowance entirely. Ancient sources say she died of malnutrition and despair. The man who built the greatest empire in history couldn't hold his own family together. And the man he left it to, Tiberius, was already broken before he ever took the throne. And then there is Livia, the woman who sat beside him when he died. Ancient sources accused her of poisoning every rival standing between her son Tiberius and the throne. Most historians today are skeptical, the evidence is circumstantial, the sources are hostile. But here is what is certain. Every obstacle between Tiberius and power vanished. Whether by poison, politics, or fortune, Livia was always in the room when it happened. Every time. Without exception. When Augustus died, the rumor spread immediately. Livia had fed him poisoned figs from the garden he loved. We don't know if that is true. We do know she outlived him by 15 years. And that Tiberius became emperor. So what do we actually make of Augustus? He was a ruthless teenager who seized power through mass murder. He built a genuine empire that gave tens of millions of people 2 centuries of relative peace. He dismantled the Republic, while pretending to restore it. He treated his own daughter as a political instrument, then punished her for wanting to be human. And he did all of it while never once calling himself what he actually was. Tacitus wrote that Augustus seduced the whole empire with the sweetness of peace. That no one resisted, because the memory of civil war was still too raw to risk another one. He didn't need to force them. He just made the lie more comfortable than the truth. His last words were a performance. Have I played the part well? He had. Brilliantly, for 56 years, next on Rome's dark throne. The man Augustus spent a lifetime shaping, using, and finally leaving the empire to. Cold, paranoid, brilliant, broken. Tiberius is coming. And trust me, it gets darker.